Guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. It's the 24th of September. I'm Peter Martin. On the show, Alan Ruff, Tam Cowan and Steven Naismith. And you, all you have to do, like, share, follow us, share it with your friends, or subscribe on our YouTube channel. There's lots to talk about. Tonight, it's win or bust for 4 Scottish clubs in the Europa League. We're also asking you the question, how much money do you think it's going to take with government intervention to try and save some Scottish clubs from folding before this COVID is well and truly behind us? And with the current situation, do you think some clubs could be forced to sell some of their star players just to balance the books? And if you are a fan of a team in Scotland or beyond, which movie star would you like to invest in your club? This is obviously off the back of Ryan Reynolds about to invest in Wrexham. So it's an unusual situation. Certainly caught me on the hop. I thought it was a bit of a wind-up, but it seems to have a bit of substance to it. So lots to talk about. The guys are here. Let's start with the Joint Response Group. We always get a statement. We might as well fire one in today as well. The Joint Response Group has held initial discussions regarding the implications for Scottish football following Wednesday's announcement that the return of supporters has been postponed and, consequently, that no further fan pilot events will be considered until the national outlook for COVID-19 improves significantly. The Minister for Sport, Joe Fitzpatrick MSP, has confirmed to us that he has written to the UK Minister for Sport seeking urgent discussions regarding a package of financial recovery for sport accessible to Scotland. The game in Scotland depends on ticket revenue far more than the vast majority of professional leagues across Europe. The prospect of that vital income being lost for the majority of the season, far less in its entirety, could be catastrophic for many of our clubs. We are committed to working with the government to avert that crisis. And I think it's only right and proper, Roughie, that they do reach out to the government and say, look, it's all right having the odd philanthropist to help Scottish clubs, but this is getting graver by the minute.
Yeah, it certainly is, and different clubs will be affected differently. You know, obviously some clubs are better off than others, as you would expect. But no, if they're going to hand out a lot of money to the arts and rugby and things like that, why shouldn't football, you know, ask for some kind of assistance? Biggest worry for me would how it be distributed, you know, because everybody has different means. Everybody will be putting a case forward, but I certainly don't think we shouldn't ask for something, considering what everybody else is getting.
Well, they reckon, Steven Naismith, that Scottish football alone, you know, brings in about £200 million to the economy.
Yeah, and I think this is where it needs to be split and is seen as the business and the industry that it is, not the sport and the love of the game. It's the jobs that will be at risk if clubs were to go under. Things like that is what should be at the forefront of the case to say, look, we need help here. It can't also get brought into the English top leagues of making millions and millions, so they can maybe distribute that down the leagues. Scottish football is not like that. The top teams at the top do not have wads of cash that they can just dip into and let football run through its course through this pandemic. So definitely needs help, and I think everybody's kind of on the same page with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Tam, as you well know, even at Motherwell, when you look at your cardboard cutout there, you know, that's the way our whole blueprint, our whole structure, you know, is made up. It's fans coming through. It still means everything to the clubs. I don't know how many other countries across Europe have the same situation that we have, where we heavily rely on supporters to keep the club going as a business.
Months ago, it seems now, Peter, that statistic was being bandied about that 43% of the income in Scottish football was from the turnstile, and it was the sort of thing that folk just gave a wee nod to at the time, never thinking it was going to come to that, where we would panic about that statistic. But that's where we find ourselves now, and it's funny how these things pan out, Peter, because at the time when we sold Davy Turnbull Celtic, I of course had mixed feelings. I was gutted that we were losing a guy like him out of our team, but I was delighted we were getting the money and wishing him well in the rest of his career. But I'm now absolutely ecstatic that we managed to get £3 million plus in for Turnbull when you're looking at the precarious situation that lies ahead for clubs. I mean, that could be life-saving money for Motherwell. And if you chuck into the mix as well, James Scott, when he went down south, and we get some hefty cash for him as well. And we, of course, next May, we've got the Europa League final to look forward to and all the money that comes with that. So I'm kind of trying to put a positive spin on it. I think Motherwell might be okay.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's the most positive you've ever been on the show there. It was almost Alice in Wonderland. And I just looked there, Tam. I know Alison, when she comes on a Monday, everybody looks to see what she's got, what she's reading behind, because she sits in front of her bookshelf. And if there's any dodgy books there, if there's a Celtic history book, people in clatter her and give her absolute pelters. And I'm just looking there, Tam, behind you, and I'm glad to see that you've got a bowl where you just stick everything, because obviously if there's any... Yeah.
It's a way of keeping my little cabinet there nice and tidy. Roughie didn't get the note then about no coughing directly into the microphone. No, right. But
No, it was me. I'm sorry,
Roughie. Dearie me. You two are clearly spending way too much time together, because you're beginning to sound like each other, even when you cough. Yeah. But no, that's one of the jars. There's probably an old couple of pound notes down the bottom of that bowl there, Peter. I've got face masks in it. I've got hand sanitizer. I've got a spare pair of specs. All the usual kind of stuff you could keep in that. And it's just sitting there lovely next to my sketch of the victorious 1991 Scottish Cup winning team. There you go. You can see that as well.
And I can tell you, Tam, that you are absolutely brilliant in our promotional video that's out on all social media platforms. We're going to let you see it before the end, which brings me nicely to James Docherty, who says, "Hi guys, hope all is well. I've managed to get out to see some of the posters. They look great. Best show in town," says James. That's very nice of you, James. And the good news is James sent us a photograph of him standing in front of the posters, just as Stevie Naismith, Roughie and Tam Cowan were able to do last weekend. And James, we are going to send you out one of our Legends t-shirts. It's as simple as that. Anybody else who stands in front of the posters in Glasgow or Edinburgh, then you send the photograph in to us and we'll send you a Legends t-shirt. Simple as that. So well done to James. And there's lots of people. Chris Bain says, "Evening lads from Northern Finland." And apparently Northern Finland is warmer than Scotland at the moment. So have you ever been to Finland, Roughie?
Yeah, I think we did play Finland in one of the World Cup qualifiers. I think we beat them 6-0, to tell you the truth. So I think they won one of your groups that won. I can't remember what year it was, but we definitely did play them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Roughie, I've got a special surprise for you coming up in the next couple of weeks with regards to our Legends series. That's all I'm going to say to you, okay? Just to get you excited, because Christmas is upon us. Lots of people, where are they in Glasgow, says John Flanagan. John, get out there and look. You can get them down at Osborne Street. They're in Suckyhall Street. They're all over the place. We talked about the joint response group. I really don't want to make you feel as if it's constantly negative about it. We want to talk about positive things. We want to talk about football on the park as well. And just on that, Roughie was talking about the difficulties of getting games, friendlies to play. Stephen, how has it been going for you, fitness and Hearts, getting games to play?
Yeah, good. The manager, that's been a key point for him, is getting as many games as possible. So we've had quite a few friendlies. At the early part, we played some top quality, Burnley, Sheffield United, opponents that were looking for games. Now the leagues have all started, it's more local games, but the manager's been trying to get 2 a week, as it's a kind of unique pre-season. So it's good, and personally I'm feeling good. Good couple of weeks training and being involved in the game, so looking forward to getting started in the Cup.
Stephen, forget all that nonsense for a minute. What's the story with the ball on the plinth over your right shoulder? What's the tale there?
To be honest, I've just moved house, so everything's nice and tidy. it's just a Champions League ball. I stole it one of the years we played in the Champions League, so got it home with me, and it's just kicked about the house ever since.
Yeah,
Right. And
that's a good wee insight there.
Stephen? Do you know, Stephen, what a plinth is?
That actually isn't a plinth. That is a
Stephen,
vase, if you
here's
like.
how gags work. Stephen, here's how jokes work. See, when I say, Stephen, do you know what a plinth is? You're meant to say, no, Tam, I don't know what a plinth is.
No, Tam, don't know what a plinth is.
It's a plintheth's brother.
Dear me. And that's what you call being off the circuit for such a long time that it's starting to affect them. Obviously, from our point of view, we like to try. We always get a statement in or some breaking news, and there is some breaking news in from UEFA, who are at this moment putting out a reward for anyone who hasn't returned a match ball from the last 10 seasons in the UEFA Champions League. So if you know anybody like that, then make sure you contact us and we'll get it to you. Quite a number of people are saying, hey, wait a minute, calm your jets. We can't get any of the Legends T-shirts because we're not in Glasgow or Edinburgh to get our photograph taken. People are in Northampton. People are in Finland. Some of the guys are in Belfast. And Andy Wilson says, I'm in Perth in Australia. What chance have I got? Well, it's simple. All we've asked you to do is like, share and follow the stream on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And what we're also doing is we're picking out lucky winners as well, Andy. So don't worry about that. We picked out a good few over the last couple of weeks. So we'll get as many names out there.
Sure.
You'll get a nice little surprise. What do you think, Roughie?
Sure. I'm sure Tam and myself would be quite happy to go to a billboard in Finland of a weekend if you've got any up there.
Absolutely.
We can make an appearance.
Well, absolutely. Well, you could get drunk on 1 pint of beer at 12 quid. That would be fantastic. Here's the Europa League fixtures for tonight, and quite a lot of them involving British clubs. Riga against Celtic, 6 o'clock. That one. Hapoel Beersheva against Motherwell. I think that's 6:30. And there you've got Skendia against Tottenham, Sporting Lisbon, Aberdeen, and Willem II against Rangers. And we're hoping upon hope that we can get 4 out of them through on the Friday, but we have our doubts. Quite a lot of us have gone for 2 to get through and 2 to fall by the wayside. You can give us your thoughts on that. Gabriel Antoniazzi, however, is looking ahead to the big one for Rangers against Willem II.
Rangers visit Willem II of Tilburg in the Netherlands for tonight's Europa League third-round qualifier. Willem II are one of the oldest clubs in their country, formed in 1896. They play at the Koning Willem II Stadium, the monarch who they're named after. Ardi Costa is their head coach and has been since 2018. The first time he led them was back in 1990. The club have won 3 league titles, but none since it was rebranded as the Eredivisie in 1956, and have lifted 2 KNVB Cups whilst finishing as runners-up in 2019. They qualified for Europe via their 5th place finish when last campaign was called in March. They sit 8th this season, albeit only after 2 games. They've played just 3 competitive matches since the restart, but they eased to a 5-0 victory over Progress Niederkorn in the second round. The Dutch club have lost only 1 of 8 home games this year, which Steven Gerrard cited as a disadvantage to the Ibrox side, but the Gers do come in as favourites.
Yeah, fingers crossed for Rangers on this one. I wonder how many of the players will be affected by the Willem II ultras who were outside the team hotel letting off fireworks all through the night just to try and annoy some of the players. But here's the manager, Steven Gerrard's take on the opposition.
We've got a really good idea about this team, what they're about, the strengths, the weaknesses. They carry a big threat in the front 4 players. They normally have played a 4-2-3-1 formation. He made some really interesting changes at the weekend at half-time. He wasn't getting much joy, and he changed people that had been playing in positions consistently but went a little bit different. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what team they decide to play.
I just get a good feeling about Rangers in these games, Stephen, because if anything, the manager's built a good reputation on having his team well organised and more than capable of scoring, whether it's home or away.
Yep, since he's been the manager, that's been one of the kind of constants, is his European performances and how well tactically they do within the games. The Rangers having a fair few more competitive games under their belt will help as well. And again, I do think they'll go through, but I think it will be tight. The Dutch league's renowned for the technical ability of players, whether it's the teams at the bottom or the top. They try and play football, and as Steven Gerrard said, they're two sitting midfielders, literally sit behind the game and are a bit more defensive. So that'll be what they'll need to watch out for. But they're well capable of going through tonight.
I don't know about you, Tam, but I was never in a situation where I thought to myself, I think I'll phone my mates and we'll all go out with firecrackers and stand outside a hotel to try and annoy the opposition. I don't think you or I are ever in that camp.
No, I hark back for the good old days when the players were disrupted in their hotel at 3 a.m. by folk like Roughie and Joe Harper outside, creating all the noise. They were, it was better that way. When they kept it in-house, that was much better. But it's weird when you hear that before. And what I like, the flip side of that, not that I'm wanting to just find any excuse to talk up the Motherwell fans, but you saw the pictures at yourself when the Glentoran team arrived at Fir Park a few weeks ago, Peter. What you actually had, far for the Motherwell fans, the young team hanging about outside their hotel trying to disrupt their sleep, they actually formed a wee welcome party for them as the Glentoran bus arrived at the South Stand for the boys to get in and get changed and come out for the game. So that was very, very nice. But I think in this day and age, Stephen just looks like your quintessential professional footballer because he has got the earpods in just now, and we see all the players the minute they come off a bus to go into a stadium these days. They're all listening to their music. They've all got the big soundproof headphones on or whatever. So I'm sure players in this day and age, if there's some guys outside the hotel through a brick wall with a couple of sparklers, I'm sure there are ways to ensure that you still get a decent night's sleep. And then there are, of course, other channels on the TV sets that, maybe $11.99 a pop, but, you can just concentrate on them and forget what's going on outside.
Yeah, the movie channel. The other thing about it, just picking up on that point that Tam made there, Stevie, I don't get the feeling that you were... I always remember Andy Murray saying that, he was never going to, ignore any of the fans because he once had an idol that he wanted his autograph and he couldn't get it, and he was raging, and he thought, if I become one of the top players in tennis, there's no way I'm going to be avoiding anyone. I presume you're of that ilk. I don't imagine you putting the big giant headphones on with your head down and avoiding everyone.
No, I'm not one like that. But that's more, I think, players. It's funny, see, as soon as they leave hotels, a lot of players just get into this zone of, I need to do everything the exact same, every moment, sit in the same seat. Daft enough, and X amount back in the bus getting off it. So I'm the 10th player off. I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. It's more about that. That's what they do. But no, I think it's, again, I've been the same. You stand outside a stadium for ages wanting a picture or an autograph, so it's the least you can do as a player.
Yeah, I know some players, Roughie,
Stevie, sorry, Peter, when Stevie's talking about even if some players, for a superstition, about what position they wanted to come off the bus. I'm just chucking this in from nowhere because somebody told me about it a couple of weeks ago and I got it verified by all our friend Mr. Craig Brown, and it was a guy who contacted me, and this might ring a bell with Roughie or indeed Steven Naismith, but a guy contacted me, said he was looking at the Euro 92 Scotland squad. This guy's obviously a wee bit an anorak when it comes to Scottish football, and he said that he noticed these rather bizarre squad numbers that some of the players had gone for. Things like Paul Lambert being number 3, and it was all out with their normal positions, but need a wee bit of verification here for maybe for Alan or Stevie. Craig Brown, I contacted him, and Craig says that actually in his era, what he did, whoever had the most caps in the squad, the most caps all the way down, these guys were able to pick their squad number just in case they had a lucky number, And Craig was saying that at his time, Jim Leighton still had the most caps out of his squad, so Jim just went for the classic number 1, the goalkeeper's jersey. But other players were picking all sorts of daft numbers. I wonder if that ever happened with Stevie or Roughie.
It has with me, but it's not so much picking different numbers. It's like, because obviously you're a standard 1 to 11 with the national team, but you might have 2 players that are 7, and it goes back to that. Is that literally who's got the most caps gets to override the other one?
Did you ever try and put a bit of fear into the opponent, Stevie? Did you ever ask for getting a different name on the back of your jersey? So he didn't
Which I did a few
Steven
times.
Naismith.
Yeah.
Should he?
Absolutely.
Well, I was obviously
Roughie.
a wee bit like Jim Lane. Obviously, you need to take number one. It seems really silly if you get as a goalkeeper and wearing 12 or 13 or 24 or something like that. So I used to wear a jersey and underneath my jersey, like a jersey I liked, and unfortunately it used to be number 13. It was a jersey I had that was 13, and I used to wear that underneath the jersey. But I remember one instance when I think it was we were playing Iran in '78 when Don Masson and Bruce Rio didn't like the numbers they had, and the two of them were standing in the dressing room about 45 minutes before the game. One wanted 6, one wanted the 10, and they were standing arguing about it, and it was a bit bizarre, to tell you the truth. And I think it was Don Masson refused to wear the number 6 jersey.
Oh,
But
strange. Cause,
maybe that's what happened that night.
Yeah.
But on the disruptions before games, and it only ever happened in an Australia international games. You know, I only remember you'd go away, and as Tam was saying there, there'd be roadworks outside or whatever disturbance. But as Stevie said, you just have to go on with it. You just have to, you know, it's terrible. I think the worst one we had was when we played Sweden, over in Sweden, and we booked into our hotel, and lo and behold, the ladies' Swedish netball team was in the same hotel. Now that was a distraction, you know, and I think most of the boys did get to their bed before 2 that night, so that was not too bad.
That was good. I'm glad you dropped that in there, Roughie, because the first story wasn't one of your best stories, and it wouldn't really get in the Christmas clips that we were all putting together. You know, the Don Masson Bruce Rioch one, we were like, hurry up and finish it, will you? Greg Stott says, hi guys, I'm tuning in from Stratford, Ontario in Canada. I just watched yesterday's episode as a dad of twin baby girls. Wow, tough for me to always watch it live. Thanks for bringing Scotland and Scottish football closer to me each day. Greg, we're absolutely delighted that you could join us. Twin babies, that is, well, I don't know about you guys, but even having a one, that takes you right out of the equation for nights out. They're just a thing of the past. Twin babies is some going. Well done to you, Greg. Great that you're with us. Sporting Lisbon, Aberdeen. Let's have a look at the opposition according to our reporter Gabriel Antoniazzi.
Aberdeen face Sporting in Lisbon tonight in what is their biggest European fixture since their famed meeting with Bayern Munich 12 years ago. Sporting Club de Portugal were created in 1906 and form one of the country's big three, along with Benfica and Porto. They are led by 35-year-old Ruben Amorim, who managed Braga against Rangers last campaign with a fixture at Estadio José Avelade. They boast plenty of silverware in the shape of 18 league titles, 17 Takas and 1 Cup Winners' Cup. They haven't won the league since 2002, but favour knockout competition, having won the Cup double in 2019. They finished 4th in the Premiera last season and boast years of pedigree, having played in Europe in each of the last 6 campaigns. However, Sporting missed the first league fixture and have not played competitively since last season due to coronavirus outbreak amongst their squad. Amorim and 9 players have tested positive, so they cannot feature, meaning the assistant will be in charge. Darren McManus has played down their absence as a decisive factor, but he will be secretly hoping they can spring a surprise on their unprepared hosts.
Yeah, and the winner of this one will play Lask or Dunajska Streda in the next round. As far as all those players being out, Derek McInnes, the Aberdeen boss, still thinks they've got enough quality in reserve.
Club like Sporting Lisbon aren't going to have bad players hanging about, you know, so they're going to have a level of player there that's pushing the first team. Probably, as I say, the majority of the first team's players will be involved, and you know it's a tough game for us. You know, it might disrupt them clearly, but it doesn't. I don't think it makes them any less of a tougher opponent, bearing in mind the size of the squad.
Johnny Mullaney says it's a big ask to ask Aberdeen to try and overcome Sporting. Stephen Smith is not quite as charitable. He says Aberdeen will get pumped as usual in Europe. So clearly Stephen's not an Aberdeen fan. I have my fingers crossed on it. I just wish they'd maybe an option, Stephen, in a Sam Cosgrove so that they could mix it up. I think... that Motherwell result certainly blew us all out of the water. We didn't see that coming. But I think you need to have something different, and I don't know if they've got that at the moment.
Yeah, that's the one thing they've not got. That they've got Marley Watkins up front who will work hard on that, but he's not as good a finisher as Cosgrove or as big a presence. But I'm optimistic. I think with it being one leg and the players out and they've not played competitive games, if Aberdeen have got to use that to their advantage. The one leg thing changes it all for me. I think they've got a chance.
Yeah, well, I have to say to you, Stephen, I hope you're right. You're the first one of our panellists that's been optimistic about Aberdeen's chances. Who knows, Tam, because of those players that they are denied, hopefully that's a wee bit of luck in Aberdeen's favour, because I don't know about you, Tam, I'm sick watching the last 10, 15 years of nobody being able to get into the group stages other than Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah, it's awful. And my only worry, though, as Stevie's saying, that it's a one-leg situation Aberdeen find themselves in. You could argue it was a one-leg situation they had at the weekend at Pittodrie against Motherwell when we absolutely roasted them. I thought Aberdeen looked terrible. Now, don't get me wrong, they were in a great run before that. Maybe that was just your classic freak result, a freak performance. But for Motherwell, it'd be 3-0 up in 22 minutes. It was quite astonishing. I watched the full game, Peter. The second half was your classic damp squib. It was just absolutely awful. And immediately then, I would have had my fears for Aberdeen getting into a game like this tonight. I know we're going to come to Motherwell later on, but the flip side is that then I thought, wow, what a great confidence booster for Motherwell to go up to Pittodrie and win 3 scud. So I would have my fears about Aberdeen tonight. I think their best bet maybe is a bit of reputation. Maybe Sporting Lisbon, they'll fancy their chances. They might write Aberdeen off. And of course, you've not got whatever their capacity in that stadium is. You've not got a fervent home crowd. That's the intriguing thing with all these fixtures now. So, no, I wouldn't write Aberdeen off, but they'll certainly need to be a lot better than they were at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Motherwell's the only hope, I think, from tonight, Peter, says James Docherty. I think it'll be 1-0 to Aberdeen. I've got a feeling, says Niall Kane. I hope you're right. And Stuart Rankin just basically says, come on the Dons. And I think we all echo those sentiments. Hopefully they can do something great there. And here's a great little line. I'm going to read this out. Greg Stott says, before he left Rangers, Stevie Naismith invited me, my brother and my father to Ibrox to meet him and watch a match. Stephen, having connected with my brother Mark, who'd served in Afghanistan, he was Stephen's football idol growing up. So, I mean, that's a nice little story there on Steven Naismith. You know, I had a feeling, Roughie, that we'd signed a good in this boy here. You know, just that's all we do. We just sign good people. Although I have to say, Charlie Adams get the steel studs in. He's putting the. I'm not sure, Roughie. He's putting the boot into everybody.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Stevie's early bells yet. You know, I'm sure it'll come at some time when, he probably says something. He does. I'm sure there's a Hibs Hearts game coming up, so we'll see how he handles that one.
yeah. You've still to get the vitriol that comes on social media, Stephen, on Facebook and YouTube. It's just a line that sets it off, and then we're all off and running. Riga of Latvia against Celtic. This is a 6 o'clock kickoff, so obviously I think it's going out. The show's going out live. We're only 90 minutes away from it. If you're watching it later on, then you'll know exactly what's happening. But the one key element of it that Neil Lennon did mention yesterday was how important European football is to Celtic.
European football is important to a club like Celtic every season. So this game's pivotal in what we want to do. Our endeavours to make the group stage of the Europa League. And that opens up the whole season. So we're taking this game very seriously. We've got great respect for our opponents tomorrow evening, and we'll have a strong team available.
Yeah, Sarajevo or Podgorica await them in the next round if they can get past Riga in this round, Tam.
Yeah, it's always very strange though, dangling these carrots in front of us, looking at who we could get in the next round. I'd sooner we just concentrate in these ties tonight. You would need to imagine that Celtic will have enough in the tank to beat Riga, but again, I keep saying it, because it happens to be Thursdays when I'm on here, European nights, that they all need to remember that it is just that one leg. Can they be sloppy at the start? They might not have time to recover if they lose a silly goal in the first 10, 15 minutes. Then you get the opponents shutting up shop. So I think they always need to be very, very aware. I think if I was a manager of any of the 4 Scottish teams, Peter, that's the last thing I'd be saying to my players as they went out the tunnel. I'd say, just remember, guys, a one-off. That's it. 90 minutes. 90 minutes, nice second chances tonight. And in that respect, then I'm actually quite confident about the Scottish team's chances tonight. I really am.
Yeah, fingers crossed, Tam, because of course Hapoel Beersheva against Motherwell, and this is what Stephen Robinson had to make of the opposition.
Yeah, I think they're a very strong side. I've watched them. They've got strong individuals. You know, they've got 3 players we've really identified that can hurt you. But there's certainly, we've gone with a game plan. We went to a game plan with Aberdeen that worked very well. You know, and we'll go with a different game plan when we go out there. And I believe that, you know, there's a real positive mindset within the football club. As I've said, we've quietly gone about our business and picked up results in different ways, and we've shown a real amount of character. We're going to need that again over there.
Victoria Pilsen or Sonderisk in the next round if they can get past them. Strangely enough, though, Roughie, Tam mentioned there about the scoreline from the weekend up at Pittodrie. I tipped Motherwell to finish 3rd this season because I was looking at some of the players he was bringing through, and I thought to myself, looked a good outfit, had a shaky start, but I think we're starting to see what they're all about.
Yeah, I think you said earlier there, I think we were all stunned by that result. But I think you've got to really look at the result. You know, yeah, Motherwell played well, but it was kamikaze stuff for Aberdeen. First one obviously was a penalty, one of these handball things. Joe Lewis, you know, duffs his kick out and there's another goal. And then after that, your back's to the wall. So no, all credit to Motherwell, but I would have thought after that game, you know, Aberdeen will struggle away from home. I think obviously losing their centre half, the defence looked a bit organised, you know, took off the replacement centre half at half time, so he wasn't happy with him. So they'd have to get it right, you know, and if it hadn't been for last Saturday, I probably would have said, yeah, they might take something out of this game, but I can't see it. I really can't.
Yeah. How do you like one-off matches, Stephen? Is that something that suits you, or do you like that kind of a 2-leg affair?
I think it's more on the opponents. A prime example is Celtic I don't think will, but like Tam said, won't be comfortable that it's a one-legged away from home. On the flip side, the Aberdeen game, they need to use that to their advantage, and that's why I feel slightly confident with them that it's the one-leg game. So I think it is more so on the opponents rather than if you just enjoy it or not. There's especially when the likes of Aberdeen, they're going to be right up for it. I think that's the difference between a game at home to Motherwell, all the pressure's on Aberdeen. Tonight, there is no pressure on Aberdeen because nobody's giving them a chance. So I think that in terms of the one-legged thing, it's more like that helps you in the nights.
Yeah, okay then. I'm going for, I think Celtic and Rangers for me, Tam, to get through. What are you saying?
I'll go, I think Celtic Rangers a 1-0 away victory for both of them. And I think Motherwell could sneak it again on penalties. I'm going to go with penalties just like against Coleraine. And I think Aberdeen are going to go into extra time as well and then sneak it in the first half of extra time, 1-0. There you go. That was quite precise, Peter.
Well, I was just about to say, I didn't imagine you were going to be that specific. Geez, last year you bored the back end of us with your 0-0 predictions. Now he's becoming more hard hitting. I like this new version of him, Roughie. But Stevie, are you going for 2, 3, 4 clubs?
3 for me. Rangers, Celtic, and Aberdeen to go through. Aberdeen potentially extra time, and I don't think Motherwell will make it.
Roughie.
I'm going 2. I'm going 2 as well. Rangers and Celtic. I think Rangers will be really tight, but I think they'll they'll get there eventually. And unfortunately for Motherwell, if Coleraine can score 2 against Motherwell, then I think this team will get goals in them as well. The Aberdeen one, as I've already said, I just don't have any confidence that get into this game. So I'm going to go 2 out of 4.
Okay, then.
Bit surprised, Peter, bit surprised to hear Steven Naismith saying that about Motherwell. And did I ever tell you about arguably the worst restaurant in the world I've ever visited? A wee fairly new place down in Stewarton. Soggy pizza, fries that were a bit burnt, terrible service, lipstick on the glass I got, trying to bung me money at the end of it so I'd give them a good mention on Instagram. It was woeful. If he doesn't change his tune the next 15 minutes, I'm naming it and shaming it.
Now that actually just twigged something in my head. I'm worried about you, Tam, because yesterday, I always like to see your Instagram from time to time, especially, if you wake up, if you ever like me, sometimes I wake up at 2 and 3 in the morning, and I don't know about you, Roughie, but you automatically, if you can't get back to sleep, you pick your phone up and you think, okay, I'll have a wee squint through it. And on the Instagram, I mean, I must admit, I think you're heading for a heart attack. What in God's name was that breakfast that you had in the morning? There was a bit. Everybody was in here and they're going, surely Tam never ate that. I says, no, there was some clever editing, but I was worried about you.
Clever editing. It was the Great Ram Challenge at a pub called the Ram's Head in Maryhill Road in Glasgow. And I was asked by a PR pal if I'd got there and usual stuff, posed for a couple of pictures and all the rest of it. And I'm delighted to say it was for charity. I was given some money to donate to charity for eating this breakfast, which was 5,550 calories. And I gave the money to the British Heart Foundation. It seemed appropriate. But that's all it was. It was just a bit of fun. But it is on the menu if anybody thinks they can tackle that. But Peter, you know me. I'll leave this discussion ourselves before even when it comes to a burger. See the ones that you see in programmes like Man vs Food? And that breakfast was a bit like that. I don't like a burger like that. Give me a roll and sausage any day of the week. So we did, I dug in at the start of that breakfast and then we paused. I tipped half of it out onto plates, and other folk that were there in the pub and that were filming it, and there was a young boy there for the Evening Times in Glasgow. They all scoffed it. They all got a good hearty breakfast out of it. But I basically had half a sausage, a bit of egg and a wee bit of tatty scone. I'm a professional.
Yeah, well, of course. Stephen, I know as professionals, there's a strict kind of diet that you like to follow. Is there an occasion where you're allowed to have yourself a little fry-up?
Yeah, there is. Normally on that Sunday, if you're feeling as if you've earned it. Just no frequently every Sunday. That's a problem when you go too many times.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen,
that was the astonishing thing, Peter. You remember Owen Coyle's routine, which a lot of folk absolutely found amazing. All the sports scientists now would have want him strung up, because Owen, he was stick thin, Owen. He was super fit, and he was a brilliant player, a great goal scorer. We were spoilt rotten when we had him and Tommy Coyne for a wee while at Motherwell together. But Owen's treat to himself, because he was a classic don't smoke, don't drink, what do you do sort of guy. But on a Friday night, and you'll know the chip shop in question, it's one just a hop, a skip and a jump for Hampden. That was Owen Coyle's favourite chip, and he'd get in there on a Friday night, every Friday night, playing on a Saturday, remember, for a special fish supper and a can of full-fat iron brew. And that was his weekly routine. But all the guys, you look at Steven Naismith there. They can cope with it. It's easy peasy.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you'll never believe this, and I think I've mentioned it before. Stevie, you'll never believe this, but I think Terry Venables was being interviewed, and he mentioned the fact that Chelsea, I think, had signed Jimmy Greaves, and Terry Venables met up with Jimmy at 12 o'clock, and they had steak and chips before they were playing at 3 o'clock for Chelsea. Steak and chips. And Jimmy Greaves has got the most unbelievable record. He scored on his debut for every club he ever played for. But can you imagine going and having steak and chips at 12 o'clock before you go and play it?
Ready for your bed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an incredible story when he was telling. I was amazed. I'll tell you one guy's diet that will be changing. Aaron Hickey's. He's signed for Bologna. We reckon this one is a £1.5 million. First British player in Bologna's history. So he's got a lot of expectation as an 18-year-old. The only thing I would say to you, Stephen, is you must get on Twitter and have a look at Bologna's
I've seen it.
Their video of
Unbelievable.
it's horrendous. They've welcomed him to Italy, and they've got this Loch Ness monster video, and then at the end of it, he's holding a toy Loch Ness monster and goes, "Believe it, I'm real." I thought to myself, whoever came up with that needs battered.
But Peter, in fairness, and particularly let's say at clubs like Rangers, Celtic, whenever an Italian player came to join Celtic Rangers, how long was it before they had them wheeked round to the local Italian restaurant for every cliche under the sun for the photographer? So, you know, pots and kettles there.
Well, absolutely. And it's the old gag, Tam. Every time Rangers or Celtic signed someone from the Ayrshire area, you had a photograph of them giving all their family a high six. It's the same thing. It's just stereotyping. It's stereotyping, isn't it, Roughie?
Right, just have a wee look up in the next 5 minutes for Ayrshire. See what comes through.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, apart from anything else, I wonder, where do you think he will play? Because obviously we're looking and thinking, oh God, not another great left back, Stephen. But do you think he might have a chance to move into midfield with Bologna?
He might short term, because the other left back actually at Bologna I played with at Norwich, who is a bit more established. So I think he could be tried in different positions. But for me, his best position is left back, where he's got the full game in front of him. He picks the ball up and then he does his thing, finds the right pass, and then he kind of builds his way up the pitch, rather than having his back to goal or receiving the ball in a tight area. That's not so much what suits him, I don't think.
Yeah, what's his best quality? Do you think it's his speed, or his technical ability, or his ability to defend?
His technical ability, definitely. He's very good with both feet, and he's got a calmness. He's not ever rushed. He's not flustered. They're probably what his standout qualities are so far. So, but this is only a move. He now needs to use that and build on that potential.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about it. I mean, it's all right getting the big move, Roughie, but he's got to deliver on it as well. Although I would say that I think, apart from anything else, one thing that footballers do get, Roughie, you'll have had this, and you look at people when you were over in America as well. He'll get an insight into diet, preparation, style of football, culture. All of that, I think, is just a golden time for him.
Yeah. I mean, we've all saw Tierney and we saw Robertson, you know, when they went down, they've come on leaps and bounds. I think the biggest problem we will have early on is obviously the language. You know, that must be a strange one for any young player going away abroad. I'm sure he'll adapt because he'll be playing with good players, but I think the sooner he picks up the language, it'll be a lot easier for him. But no, I think we're all encouraged that a young player can go abroad and hopefully get into the team, and we can see how good he is.
Yeah. Is there ever a country, Roughie, where you wished you'd gone to play football?
Probably one of the Scandinavian countries would have suited me.
Yeah, absolutely. No point in dwelling on that one then. Listen, talking about people looking for new clubs, I put this in the running order today for you guys just because I was wondering. Andy Halliday, I mean, I see him occasionally. We had him on the programme, which obviously alerted everybody else to the fact that he was going to come on and do a bit of broadcast. He's been on the BBC quite regularly, Stephen. I wonder where he's going. I mean, it must be nervy for Andy to have a game plan of where he's going to play football. He told us that because it's just him and his wife, that he'll be able to move anywhere, but it must be nervy for him, thinking to himself, am I going to get somewhere? Because I think he's a decent player.
Yeah, it certainly will be nervy. I think circumstances aren't helping in terms of COVID and stuff like that. So, but there'll be conversations going on all the time. In the background, this is the type of thing that happens. Clubs will be waiting and players moving. Clubs will be desperate to get him. It might not suit his needs. And it's a game of just constantly spinning these plates to see what, one, the best deal is for you. Secondly, where you're going to go and enjoy it. And thirdly, probably where he's going to play. Because he's a player that's, at Rangers, he played centre mid, played on the left, played left back. So that'll probably be playing a part in what he'll want in the next move.
He's still only 28, Tam.
Yeah, and if I was looking for a wee key with the body language, he was on the radio with us last weekend, and whenever we kept mentioning Hearts as being the team that purportedly has come in for him, then there was a wee light twinkle in his eye, but he did mention it me off air another two clubs who had made contact with him. I, of course, as a member of the Welsh Society, which means that I am a part owner of Motherwell Football Club, I took it upon myself to offer him terms at Fir Park there and then when we were sitting having a cup of tea in the BBC, but he bluntly refused, which I thought was rather rude.
Which begs the question, Stevie Naismith, has he been there near the training? Has he intimated any suggestion that he could be at Hearts?
In all honesty, that's the first I've heard of it. I've not seen him in the building. I obviously seen him with Tam. Tam's negotiating tactics weren't good enough, but nah, news to me. I've not heard the Hearts one, but the manager has said he's in for a centre mid, so you never know.
Charlie Adam might go in with the studs up in this programme, but he doesn't tell Porkies.
Yeah.
Are you telling Porkies, Tam?
No.
Well, let me ask you this question, which doesn't in any way go back in what you just said, Stephen. I think he's the type of player that could do a job for Hearts. You know, I think he could get another Premier League club in Scotland. But for me, I consider Hearts right now should be a Premier League club, and I'm sorry, people are going to get hacked off at me.
Yeah, no, he's got good ability. He was in and around the Rangers squad for a good number of years. He's not going to do that if he's not got good ability. In terms of us, we've actually got quite a few centre mids. Peter Haring's coming back as well, which is probably most like for like with Andy Halliday. But like I said, it's news to me. It's the first I've heard of it. Is it today for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Couple of things. It must be a difficult one for him, Peter, because obviously coming from Rangers, he'd be on a reasonable salary there, and I don't think anybody else in Scotland could equal that salary. So that's the first thing he's got to get his head around. You know, so maybe an English club could offer him somewhere near that. So if he wants to just keep playing at his age, he's going to have to take a hit. There's no doubt about that. But as we always keep saying in this show, you want to be playing rather than not playing, and it's good to get the security of people wanting you. So he'll be hoping that there's a manager out there who's seen what he did at Rangers and maybe give him a chance.
Yeah, a lot of people have their own opinion on Andy Halliday. Kieran Maguire says Andy Halliday is, and he uses a word that is not nice. I don't think Kieran he is a bad player. I think he's got something to offer. He may well have suffered the derision of Celtic fans because he declared his love for Rangers. It's not a crime to sing from the high heavens about how you are able to play for your boyhood heroes and you love the club. So, I mean, from that point of view, Kieran, you're a little bit harsh. I think he's a good player. I think he's got something to offer. And I think at 28, a number of clubs might be sniffing, and as Tam mentioned there, because Tam's obviously in the know on what's happening at Hearts, he could be there. Who knows? We'll find out very, very shortly indeed. Listen, what about this one? Roughie, this story, actually, I looked at it. I thought it was a wind-up, and I thought to myself, Ryan Reynolds, the movie star, is looking at possibly investing with Rob McElhenney, another movie star, in Wrexham. I mean, he's not short of a bob or two. He's one of the world's best paid movie stars. He was involved in a company called Aviation Gin, and he sold it for 460 million. in the last year, so he's got a few quid, Roughie. Wrexham has certainly caught me on the hop.
Yeah, I think a lot of clubs now are trying to identify people with a few bob who would want to invest in the club. You know, I don't know what the connection is there. I don't know. Is that the boy who was in La La Land?
No, that
See
was
the
Ryan
actor?
Gosling. Yeah.
No, is that a different boy, was it?
Yeah.
I don't know what the connection is there, but obviously if anybody like that comes forward and offers your club some money, some investment, you're going to have a look at it. And good luck to them if they can get it.
I don't know about you, Stephen, but if I had £460 million from the sale of a gin company and I was earning fortunes at the movies, a football club is the last thing I would invest in.
And he's obviously not been to Wrexham. That's definitely one of those where his management have told him, hey, get yourself involved in this. Big sports club, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
let's be serious, Peter. You wouldn't be talking to us if you'd all that money.
Yeah, well, that's a little. I mean. Oh, in fact, no sooner, Tam, you're absolutely right. No sooner has Stevie just put the boot into Wrexham than Bronwyn, Tom Jones, and a few others are saying, "Tell Stevie to take a flying himself." So you're right, Tam. It was only a matter of time before we got to him, But Ryan Reynolds, Tam, eh?
Thanks, Jit. It's brilliant. But I disagree with you, Peter. I must say, if you're talking 460 million, personally, I would buy Motherwell in a flash. I mean, if you had 460 million pound, it would be tremendous. And particularly at a time like this, when all the clubs, as we said at the very start of the show, where every penny is an absolute prisoner. I think it'd be the dream come true for a supporter. And maybe the danger just have to be, you didn't get carried away and started doing daft stuff and buying stupid players, but and then end up bankrupting the club. That would be crazy. But I would like to see, just to see Roughie's face, I'd like to see, if you're talking a movie star, maybe somebody like Robin Asquith for the Confessions films taking her at Partick Thistle, just so that Roughie could finally meet his hero. I think that would be a lovely moment. Bring a tear in an eye.
Yeah, and for the benefit of all our younger viewers, by the way, Robin Asquith was in a 1960s style movie, Confessions of a Window Cleaner, which I don't think the title of it tells you that it's a thriller or an action movie. It's a very straightforward plot that goes there, but nevertheless.
And for any of our younger viewers, we should say as well that the gentleman far right used to play in goals for Scotland. Yes. Nothing like putting the boot into him. And just on that point, Tam, if you had the 460 million, you mentioned you'd buy Motherwell. Would you spend enough just to see them win one title in your lifetime? Oh no, that's when it gets into the stupid stuff about who you would. That's when you would be getting carried away with yourself. I would settle for a good maybe semi-final of the Scottish Cup and a decent run in the Betfred. That would be and third bottom in the league. Yeah, we're not realists now. You can't dream anymore, Peter. The fact, but it's a scary time. But no, it would be majestic, just to get, it'd be great. Making sure that what I would do the first game there, I would get every day as they clicked through the turnstile, all my fellow Motherwell fans, like a kind of a Willy Wonka golden ticket that meant that for that first season, if you were a season holder, you could go up to the food kiosk and fill your boots at half time. Everything free for one season. I'd like to do something like that. It's quite practical and for your fellow fan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good idea, Tam, and I'm sure people will hold you to it.
What would you do, Peter? Would you insist on getting Rod Stewart's seat? Would you move him down a couple of rows, Peter? What would you do?
If I had 460 million, the two things I would do, Tam, obviously I'd have the final farewell party for PLZ Soccer, where I'd say goodbye to everyone. I'd have to get you all together to say goodbye, first of all. That's it. End friendships, change my mobile, and then I'd buy a season ticket for Barcelona and a season ticket for Liverpool, and I'd just go between the three clubs and I'd just enjoy myself. I think that would be it. And I'd buy myself a luxury flat in Edinburgh and one in New York. Roughie, is that not a bad way to spend
brilliant.
460 million?
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's some amount of money, but I fall into the Tam category as well. You know, if I had 460 million, I'd buy a new stadium at Thistle. I'd make sure we had a team that could compete. And I don't know what that value would be and what you would spend, but I would do my utmost, you know, to bring the success days back again, because we're all football supporters and we like to see our team up there. But definitely a brand new spanking stadium with brand new, really, really good players to take us back to where we should be.
Yeah, Stephen, there's no point in asking you because...
And the only...
just get clarity there.
Hold on, Ruffy's got a
Ruffy's
gag, Tam. Can you let him?
This is typical Ruffy.
Let Ruffy get the gag.
Go, Alan.
He's got a gag.
No, you were going to ask me my manager, and there only is one manager. It would be Sharon Stone. And I'd make sure she did the team talk for a chair in the middle of the dressing room to get everybody's attention.
Yeah, I think, and I think she might. Alison says Peter Ryan Gosling was in La La Land. Yes, we know Ryan Gosling. Yeah, no. We know Ryan Gosling was in La La Land, but that's not who's investing in Wrexham. So get out there, Ruffy.
Right.
Alison, you've picked up the wrong end of the stick, because he said, is that the Ryan Gosling boy that was in La La Land, or is that the Ryan? Ryan Reynolds is the guy who was in Deadpool, and he was also in Green Lantern, and a few other movies as well. But nevertheless, listen, a lot of people suggesting what they would do on £460 million. So it's always good. You can always dream. Other little bits.
I was only wanting clarity there, Peter. I was only wanting clarity for Ruffy. Did he mean that if he had the £460 million, that he would turn Firhill into a brand spanking new stadium, or a brand new spanking stadium?
If I had that amount of money, I wouldn't need that.
Yeah, 460 million. And Stuart Ramsey says, if I had 460 million pounds, I'd come home for a roll in square sliced sausage. And clearly, Stuart is like many a person. Even Kenny Dalglish, when he moved down to Southport, when he was playing for Liverpool, he always liked sliced sausage from Scotland sent down. Isn't that right, Ruffy?
Yeah, they used to slice sausage every lunchtime at the Scotland games. That was his two rolls and sliced sausage.
Yeah, absolutely. Luis Suarez looks as if he's leaving Barcelona and he's going to join Atletico Madrid. He's won a fair few medals along the way. He won a league title with Nacional in Uruguay, league title at Ajax, a League Cup with Liverpool. But listen to this, Stephen. 4 leagues in Spain, 4 Copa del Reys, a Champions League, a Super Cup, a World Club Cup, and the Copa America as well. Not a bad haul for a good player. A great player. I think the only thing that probably is tainted in all of that is his ability to bite his opponent.
Yeah, he's a controversial character, but as a player, I loved him. He's everything you want, man. The enthusiasm, the never say die attitude, and then his natural ability was quality. So when he played with Liverpool especially, he was tremendous. And when he signed there, he came from Ajax at a time where people were slightly questioning whether he was going to be good enough or not. So quality player.
Is there one player, Stephen, that you would love to have played with that you've spotted, over the course of your career? You thought, I wish I'd played with him.
You could be unrealistic and say the likes of Messi and Ronaldo, but to be fair, I was fortunate I played with some good players. One that stands out, Gareth Barry, was somebody I watched for a distance and couldn't understand why he was a mainstay in the England team. And then when he was my teammate, 2 sessions in, you understand why, because his range of passing and his just ability was top notch.
That's a good point, actually. Sometimes you don't realise, Tam, you'll be able to answer this, sometimes you don't realise how good a player is until he joins. The reason why I'm going to mention this to you, Tam, is because I remember when I was a young reporter at Radio 4, I was lucky enough that I was friendly with Sandy Jardine. I was able to get him to come and be my co-commentator. And Sandy used to say to me, he said, the amount of Hearts directors who said, we didn't know how good a player you were until you actually joined us at Hearts. And he was 37.
Yeah, and I think the late great Sandy Jardine, he popped up as a trivia question in our show about a year ago when a listener pointed out that he holds the record in Scotland for the most years that had spanned between his 2 Player of the Year awards in Scotland. He won one fairly early on with Rangers, and then you're right, I think when he was about 37, he was named Scottish Player of the Year again. It was something ridiculous, like 23, 24 years. Maybe not as much as that, about 20 years anyway between his 2 awards. So, I mean, that was quite incredible. And I remember that when Sandy Jardine went to that Hearts team, and suddenly you could see that everyone was still up there. And I mean, he might have lost a wee bit of pace, but he played, if you recall, Peter, he was almost more like a sweeper when he went in that Hearts team. I think maybe even playing alongside Big Roddy McDonald. And Sandy Jardine could just clearly read the entire game in front of him, and he was absolutely majestic.
John Mullaney says, I'd love to have played football with Mario Kempes. There's a name from the past that we haven't heard for a while, Roughie. You remember him well, don't you?
Yeah, top goal scorer in the 78 World Cup. He was a fantastic player. If I had anybody in my team, it would be Zico, which would mean that you can't score any free kicks by me. So I'd definitely have him in my team.
Yeah, absolutely. Zico, what a player. On that note, listen, thank you to everyone who's contributed. If you cannot get to our posters, I know James Docherty was able to do it, and also Ailey Conway also got a photograph taken. So many people have actually sent their photograph next to the posters, and we've sent them out a little gift or a present. If you get next to the posters, then send it in to us and we'll send you out a prize. If not, if you're quite a distance away, don't forget to like, share and follow us on our Facebook, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we are selecting a number of people just at random, and we'll be sending you out a prize, whether you're in the United Kingdom or if you're farther afield across the world. We've got so many people listening to us from so many places, and I think the last one is going to go to Gary McGurn, who says, I would love to have played up front with Stevie Naismith. What better compliment could you get than that in football? It would have been fantastic. I must admit, because of the way I like to play football, I would also like to have played with Stevie Naismith, because I'm the type of player that people
You'd have
love
been
to
like Big
kick
Boy
lumps out of.
in the middle.
That's exactly it. Not moving out of the centre circle, and of course trying to pick a fight and then run away when the fight has started, which sounds familiar to you, Naisy, to be perfectly honest with you. Anyway, on that note, thanks to everyone for contributing. I leave you with one of many promotional videos that we're putting out, just to give you an indication of what this show's all about. So many fans love the show because they love their clubs and they're very sensible in their point of view, and we value your contribution in joining the football family. From Tam, Stevie, Roughie and myself, we'll leave you tonight hoping 4 Scottish clubs get into European competition on the Friday morning, and we'll also leave you with a little bit of what PLZ Soccer's all about. Football. What does it mean to you? A city, a stadium, a colour, a team, a player.
It's the buzz you get at 3 p.m. every Saturday.
It's a volley at Ibrox.
Football's been my life.
What does football mean to me? Has to be 3 World Cup finals.
It's a 40-yard screamer in the Parc de France.
Quick Baden drags it down now. Long way out. Oh, what a goal! What a goal! What a goal by Mick Baden!
It's standing in the lineup of the opening game of the World Cup against Brazil. It's going to the game with your brother.
Going to the game with my sister.
Getting the football pitch ready for kick-off.
Did I ever mention who won the Scottish Cup in 1991?
It's an entertaining way to pay the mortgage.
Football, it's not a matter of life and death, but it's getting there. Your city, your stadium, your colours, your team, your players, with your friends. Join the football family on PLZ Soccer.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit Arnold Clark